right, so what we're going to work here is this little Ziptone file. And so what I've already done is drawn up my little bird, and I've got it all kind of taken care of. And I need to create the halftone. This is going to be relatively easy in Illustrator. It's not a huge deal. Takes a little bit of kind of tweaking if need be, but I'll show you how to do it. So I'm going to take the shape of the bird, and I'm going to copy and paste it and just drop it over here for a second. And I'm going to fill it with a color. Now, we need this to be grayscale. So immediately I'm going to go to my color menu here, and I'm going to change it to grayscale. All right, and I'm just going to make it a gray color. All right, and I'm going to actually put on the white so we can see a little bit better. Now, in order to get the halftone to sort of go from small to large, it needs to be a gradient. And this is where the messing will kind of come with. So I'm going to click on this gradient tool, and I'm going to make it a gradient. And I'm going to grab my gradient tool, and I'm going to kind of draw it out. All right, and what I'm looking for is a subtle difference. If it gets too dark, you'll kind of see what happens. And I'm going to pull this out a little bit, and I'm going to kind of make it dark, but I don't want it to be too, you get out of there, too dark, okay? Once I've created my grayscale, I've got this shape. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to Effect, and I'm gonna go to Pixelate, and I'm gonna go to Color Halftone. These settings you can generally stay as default. The maximum radius I'm gonna use is 10. The maximum radius is the largest size of the little circle, the pixel that you're gonna see. So I'm gonna hit OK. I'm gonna see what happens. And I feel like those are a little small. So I'm going to undo, and I'm going to go to Effect, Pixelate, Color Halftone, and I'll probably double it. I'll go to 20. All right. And those seem all right. I can deal with that. All right. And so now I've got this. You'll notice when I do this that, all right, this piece is now not vector. Okay. It's raster. You can see because I've got the white here. Okay. Then I'm going to pull this over here so we can kind of play around with it a little bit. All right. So I need to, before I can actually image trace this and make it a vector, I've got to expand it. So I'm going to go to Object, and I'm going to expand. And you'll notice the box gets bigger. Okay, now I've got this expanded piece. I'm going to go to my Properties panel, and now I have the option to image trace. And I'm going to click the image trace. It will default do an image trace. All right, and what I have right now is a big white box. So I'm going to click up my pop-up for my image trace. The first thing I want to do is say to ignore white. So that'll ignore the white. But you'll notice if I zoom in, my circles don't really look like circles in some areas. So I'm going to take the Paths tool, and I'm going to basically bump this all the way up. And paths will kind of follow the circles a little bit better. You'll notice some of the they start to look like circles. Okay? So if I take the paths down, you'll notice that if you give it a second to update, there's my teardrop, sort of weird shape, bring my paths all the way up. Okay? I also have threshold, and threshold will add the amount that it takes. And in this particular instance, it's not going to change too much. Okay? But if I had, it'll bring less or fewer things back. Once I've got this, I want to vectorize it. So I'm simply going to click Expand. Now it's a vector, all right? And I'm going to take this, and I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to drop it right here, and I'm going to send it to the back. So I'm going to Range, Send to Back, right-click, Range, Send to Back. Now all I have left to do on this particular style is this eyeball here. And I got to knock that out because, yes, I can take this, okay? And let me pull this over here. Get you out of here for now. All right. I don't want there to be a white circle on top of here. I want it to be missing. So I'm going to copy and paste this little circle here, and I'm going to drop it right back on top of itself. Okay. Let me get in here for a second so we can get it. All right. I'm going to drop it right on, and I'm going to have Illustrator center it for me. Snap, snap. Okay. I'm going to hold Shift and Option so I can scale from the center, and I don't care if it's the exact same size. And I'm going to fill it with white. Come here. All right. And I need to send this backward. Okay, I'm just going to use the Shift and the Command in the left bracket to kind of bump it back until I have this. You could also bring the black one forward afterwards. Doesn't matter. But right now I've got a white circle on top of all this, which if I put this on top of white is fine, right? But I want it knocked through. So if I go ahead and take the white circle and Shift and select all my little dots, and I go to my properties and I say minus front, okay, what happens is Illustrator picked this one to keep and everything else is minus front. So to solve that problem, I want Illustrator to know that this path is, right now it's multiple paths, multiple paths. I want them all to be the same. So I'm going to go to Object, and I'm going to go to Compound Path, Make. That's going to tell Illustrator that that is now one big giant path as opposed to multiple paths. Now I click the white circle, I hold the Shift, and I click here, and I minus the front. Okay, so now I have a knockout of those circles, all right, which there is a difference when it comes time to, looking at a nice clean design, all right, and that's how that's going to work. I'm not going to make you knock out this heart because you might color the heart later on with a different color if you were a designer and you took this piece and decided you wanted to change that. We're not going to knock that out. That's not really needed, okay? this particular piece, I want this color to be whatever is going on back here. Plus, I want to be able to teach you guys how to do a compound path. All right? So pretty simple process. When you do this with the flower, you want to use it to create shadow. The more you mess around with it, the more you'll notice kind of what happens. So I can take this and the same thing. Again, I'm going to go to color. It's on grayscale. Okay? I'll bring it over here so we can kind of see it. It's kind of hard when I'm matching the same gray. The gray really doesn't matter. It just needs to be gray. All right? If I turn it into a gradient, all right, and we take this and I make it darker, okay, what'll happen when I go to my effect and my pixelate and my color halftone, right, is they'll start to combine, okay, and you might want, okay, when you're doing your flower, you could have it kind of combine a little bit. That doesn't bother me, but I want to show you kind of the different options you have. What happens if I go back here and I go to effect and I go to pixelate and I say color halftone and I change these sizes to 5 and I hit OK, what you're going to get is much smaller circles. They're there, but they're much smaller. So that's what that size is. That's the size of your largest pixel. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know.